Welcome to the Lucidus podcast, where I explore everything because everything is connected to everything else. And because a few years ago, I began to understand that inside of all of us is this infinite, unbounded potential, and that part of the joy and the mystery of life is uncovering and discovering that potential. So, this is another unplanned podcast. And unlike the last one where I felt I was fighting to the last one that I recorded where it was unplanned, it was a very difficult one. And I've thought about the raw reckoning, if you've caught that one. I don't suggest you go watch it unless you feel called. It's pretty hard to watch. It was more difficult to actually do. And I've thought about taking it down, but as I've mentioned, I'm becoming more unapologetic about who I am and what my journey looks like and the choices that I make. So this is another one of those podcasts where I feel like it's time for me to say something today. I can feel it very strongly wanting to come out. A very different place from the raw reckoning though. Today is a huge shift for me, and I don't know what it is or what it means, but I believe it stems from a decision I made over the last couple of days. So first thing, you'll notice that the background is very different. I've always chosen neutral backgrounds, not really expressing who I am, just I don't know what I was trying to do, honestly. And today it was like, this is who I am, this chair. I found this on, used. And I was so happy. This is a statue. These statues have been with me for many, many years, some of them decades. This is who I am. This is my life. It's been these types of things. This type of personality has been me as long as I can remember, specifically sunflowers. That one right there was a himawari, was drawn by someone in Japan. I don't even know who, as a thank you gift. It's an old story that has to do with my balloon business. Maybe I'll share it one day. But today, the words that want to be spoken are about being true to oneself. So there's a job that I'm applying for. I've been applying for so many jobs over the last, weeks, months, and just nothing's fallen into place. A few interviews, and I was offered a job, and it looked great, and something in me was like, no, kind of like the deeper I went, I was like, there are going to be some issues here that I did bring them up in the interview, and it was like, yeah, that is a valid issue. Anyway, long story short, I didn't accept it. So I've been very honest about who I am in my interviews, just in everything. So this latest job comes up, and I start going through the process and kind of like whatever. And then as I get farther into it, I realize, oh, I really think this job is for me. And I start to see how it would align with so many things. I have so many diverse talents. I can do so many things, and I can learn damn near anything if I don't know it. So for me, it's less about what's your skill set. It's about what do you want to learn. I was texting someone the other day, and he said something about how did you figure this latest thing out so much? And I said, I'm a master learner, or I'm a master of learning. I'm a master of learning. And when I type those words, I think I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it was so profound. I'm a master of learning. And I realized that is life. And that's probably the greatest skill I have. And I would not say I've been very willing to learn a lot of the lessons I've learned. But I have. I am becoming a master of learning. And I don't think there's anything greater in life than just learning. It's just, for me anyway, my life, my journey is and has been all about learning and learning and learning. And allowing that new learning to become knowledge and wisdom and growth in healthy ways. So back to this job and these interviews. So I had a video interview, and then I've had a written interview. And in the video interview, I was, just, this is who I am, just didn't worry about hiding anything or pretending I didn't have weaknesses or any challenges or any whatever, just whatever, just like this is who I am. Even though, and why is that a big deal? Because generally when I want something, I can play the part to get it. I can play the part to get it. And I know in this, even know, I could play the part to get this job. And I'm not willing to. I'm not willing to. As much as I think this job might be right for me or a really good step for me, I'm unwilling to play the part to get the job. I'm unwilling to not be true to myself. To the point where yesterday there was this big long written, it was when I got done writing, it was, I probably wrote 1,000 words or more. No, I wrote way more than that. It was 2.5 pages, at a 10-point font. They asked so many questions. So, and it took me a good 2 hours to finish the whole written interview and send it out. So I got to one, and it was near the end. This question was near the end, and I'd been writing for probably a good hour and a half. So I was just in the process. And I suddenly get to the question, what are the 3 greatest challenges you've had in the last 10 years? And I just start writing them. And I wrote, one of them is no big deal. And then 2 of them were so traumatic for me and for the people in my life that they continue to be an issue. And these have stigmatized me. And that is the very serious illness I had about 5 or 6 years ago when I almost died. It was mysterious. No one, doctors, nobody could ever figure out what was wrong. And then the second one is not only my rape, but that was actually not a big deal until I reported it and have gone through this judicial process. And I'm going through this judicial process. And that has triggered a lot of people close in my life that are close to me. And what the stigma is that I must be deeply broken and traumatized and broken and not okay if those things have happened in my life. I would say I have believed that. I have believed that. I've allowed that belief to persist in myself and kind of allowed others to sort of believe that. And then recently I've pushed back and been like, I don't think so. And more recently, I know so. I am so damn resilient. I have come back from the dead 3 times in my life. I have been nearly almost dead. My anaphylactic shock, that was the first one. Anyway, 3 times in my life, I have literally come back from almost, no, I didn't actually die in any of them. So I'm not saying that, but have come back from the brink of death. I have fought through so many things. My resilience is unparalleled. I don't know anyone who and I'm not saying there isn't, but I don't personally know anyone who has been through what I've been through and shown as much resilience and continues to come back and continues to come back and continues to come back. And then with my rape and going through this judicial process, it has forced me, and I've said this before, it has checkmated me. It has forced me to speak. It has forced me to speak my truth, to speak what I believe, to speak what I think, to speak what I feel, to speak. And it has forced me to believe in myself. It's forced me to believe in myself. Okay, so I still haven't told you how this is relevant with the job interview. So as I'm filling out the thing, I just get to that chapter about what are the 3 most things, and I start writing first about my dad and taking care of my dad when he died of Alzheimer's, and what a powerful kind of challenging event that was, but also all the blessings involved. I spoke about when I got really sick and how there were never any quote unquote remedies. but I found my way back to full health. And then I started writing about my rape, and I got about into the second sentence, and I literally stopped and was like, you can't talk about your rape on a job application. And I had to stand up and leave the room and go back. And something in me, I finally reckoned. And I was like, and because I know I could not get this job because I spoke about the fact that I'm a rape survivor. And I am willing to do that. As great as this job looks, I am unwilling to believe that I am broken or that I am somehow less than because I am a rape survivor. And I also realized I am unwilling to hide. I am not going to hide that part of my life. I am not going to hide what I've been through. I'm not going to hide how difficult it's been. I'm also not going to hide how incredible the growth has been for me with all I've been through. And that's what I'm here to say. I realize now. I knew I was going to make a podcast for a good reason, and that is it. And that is that I am who I am today because of what I've been through. And I have no apologies. I am internally far stronger than most people I know, and most people do not even understand the inner strength I have. I am resilient beyond my own imagining. My resilience continues to inspire and awe me. Like, I just can't even believe sometimes when it gets up and says, yes, we're going to do this again. This meaning like just facing each day. And I want to point out another thing that I've realized, and I've spoken about my mental health, but I also want to point out that I know a lot of people have mental health issues, and I will classify myself, I'm not going to remove myself from that, but I also have realized I am in an incredibly difficult situation, which I want to say, I wonder how it will be for me when I no longer have the financial stress I have hanging over my head right now with a new home and needing to get all that resolved. When I no longer have the rape trial hanging over my head, have that resolved. When I no longer have the belief system that I currently have, which I am breaking down, which is that I am broken and severely incapable of actually living a healthy, joyful life. I believe I'm doing an amazing job with all that I have going on right now. That's honestly what I believe. And I believe the fact that as much as I need and want, I don't need this job. As much as I think it would be a good job, and as much as I would like to just resolve the job hunt because I'm tired of it, I am so at peace and so relieved that I did not sell myself out. I've also been holding my boundaries in other relationships where in the past I've sort of just like, I've spoken about this before, but I want to say it again because it's really important to me. I'm understanding forgiveness in a new way, which is with clarity. Seeing someone for who they are based on their choices and their behaviors and their decisions, and saying, I see you. I see the choices you continue to make. I see the decisions. I see how you are choosing to be, how you are. And I now understand how I need to have a relationship with you for this to work on my end. And forgiveness for me now is making the room for them to be themselves in my life in the way that works for me as well. No longer just saying, I forgive you, you can be in my life, welcome. No, I forgive you. And I'm not even going to get into the weeds with that, but I forgive you. I've been hurt by your choices and actions. I forgive you, and I welcome you back into my life with these boundaries. because that's what's going to work for me. And when people put up boundaries for me into their life, I respect that as well. And I assume that's what's best for them. So the other big thing about today in this moment is I rarely share, except for the last one that I did, the raw reckoning. I rarely share what's going on in my life in the moment. I have been much more about allowing myself to process it and make peace with it, kind of make sure it worked out okay before I shared. And so this is big for me to say, like, this is what's going on right now. And I have no idea how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to play out. It might not play out well. Might play out great. Like, I don't know. But this is how I'm playing my game. And I'm willing to be seen. And I'm willing to allow myself to be judged. Because I am learning more and more that your judgment has no bearing on who I am. And I say that as someone who spent probably a good hour awake last night in the middle of the night, just laying with myself, watching and listening to that part of me that sabotages myself. Meaning what I think about me doesn't have a lot of bearing either. And I know I've said that before in one of my other podcasts, but I'm realizing that the more neutral I can be, the better. The more neutral I can be, the better. Meaning neutral to what you think about me, neutral to what I think about me. And just allowing myself to move through life, to learn, to fail, to succeed. And ultimately just to see how it goes. I know I have some very distinct goals, some ways that I would like things to go. And I'm also open to them not going that way at all. So I've also covered up the computer screen so I can't see myself. That helps because I don't want to be distracted by that. But all I can see is like this little window. I was like, oh, I guess I could have closed those. Okay, so you can see all I can see right here is all I can see is this over here. So you can see I'm getting distracted. I think that's it, and that's enough. I didn't need a lot to say, but the power for me in this moment is sharing in real time. And hoping that you are finding this presence to be true to yourself, in a very attentive way. In a very attentive way. I've been very attentive about the choices I'm making. I have a lot of clarity about how they could go, but I know I don't have control over it. So being true to myself in a very attentive, clear way. And trusting that I will learn, I will grow, I will continue. And that's what I would hope for you. Since nothing is sure, nothing is certain. So I had a beautiful moment yesterday where I just sat down on the steps in my house and just had a moment of such deep gratitude for the chance to be part of this play, as difficult as it is at times. So Hope you have a beautiful day, and we will chat again soon.